that a young guy like Terrell was a little calmer than I thought a young guy could be, because we were about 80-some yards away, I think. And he stood in the pocket and nailed a couple balls in. Now, he threw a couple up there that were a little scary in that last drive, but I thought his calmness and his focus, for a young guy, he certainly didn't seem to be affected by the difficulty of their defense and the difficulty of the crowd and all of those things. And I thought that was a very important moment for him to step up for his teammates.
Jim, you talked about the atmosphere and how much you kind of sell that actually to recruits. Your guys seem to really enjoy it 2 years ago, jumping around. Why would that be a negative? I mean, what makes an atmosphere difficult for a visiting team to play if they're going to enjoy it along with the home team?
Well, I've always said that about Ohio Stadium. Everyone says, oh, they're coming to your place, you have a great advantage. I said, they love coming to our place. They love this atmosphere. You can feel the energy in the place. So, I don't look at it as it being a bonus for us here and, being a negative for us there. It's, you get to go do those things. How many people get to go be a part of those things? And that's, do enjoy it.
Line play is always important, particularly when the team is physical in Wisconsin. I mean, is this when the game will be won?
Oh, yeah. Well, every game was won there. We were 24 for 30 throwing the ball on Saturday, but we had great protection. You can't be 24 for 30. Some days we can't be 24 for 30 in perimeter. And there's nobody rushing. So the trenches is where it'll be. Run game, certainly. Pass protection, for sure. Both sides. That's where the game is won and lost, but it's hard to quantify that. I guess you can do it in sacks and those kind of things, but sacks don't quantify the impact of what's going on, in the trenches there.
Jim, how accurate is it to describe your offense as pass first? And if that's true, is that mostly by design? Is that by necessity? How would you get this?
Well, I would be surprised if we would have to mark it down October the 12th that we were called pass first. I hope that we can be called balanced. That you're not sure on any down which we're going to do. And, then I think we've progressed. So you may say it's pass first, but the D-line coach on the opposing team that we're playing probably says, now you better on first down not just go rush the passer, or they'll go screaming out of there on a draw like we did, for the long touchdown, to start the scoring there against Indiana. So I hope people have to play us balanced.
How much of a comfort level does it give you having a guy like Greer and a guy like Dane that they've been around and they've been able to take on such a role in the offense?
I think they're really coming along. We always had high hopes for them, and they've always been solid. I really think that you can see them growing in confidence and in just in their execution. The nice thing is you don't have just one guy you're throwing to, and people say, well, let's double this guy and make this guy beat us. Well, if that happens, and hopefully if they're doubling this guy, then that guy can beat you. And so it's good to have that. We feel as if we have to spread it out, though, more, and not just be those two guys. And that's why B. Sane is such a critical part of it, the tight end position, whether it's Reed or it's Jake is a critical part of it. I think Torian is coming along, gaining a little bit of confidence. He's done a nice job as a leader, and he's a young guy and he's a young player-wise. He's a senior, but he hadn't played that much. But I think he's grown a little bit from that standpoint, and Philly Brown's coming along and getting better, and Chris Fields, you see some sparks out of in practice. So plus I've liked the way that all the tailbacks have caught the ball. They've done a good job of getting to their check down spots, and we've done a pretty good job of when it's not there, dropping it down to them. So, but Tavir and Dane, are the guys that get that all started.
You see them maybe enjoying the season more, that they seem to be taking, they're catching more passes and more yards. Does that make a season?
It's a lot more fun catching than blocking.
Right.
I mean, guards don't have that choice. Receivers, if they had their druthers, You know, they spend maybe one period a day working on blocking, and the rest of the day they're catching balls. That's what they like to do. So those two guys, though, I don't think you'd ever get them complaining or, you know, it bothering them if, you know, they don't get quite as many balls as they'd like. I'm sure they have goals and things they'd like to do, and but those would never be above the group's needs.
Last time up there, Zanzibar and Heron were both knocked out. You talked about that.
Well,
You
that's
see
the,
your skill position guys go down like that.
it's a physical game. You know, and I think that was a little unusual, and that those kinds of things, you know, you might have X number of tackles and not have anyone get their bell rung. We just happened to that night have two, and actually the guy that was on the giving side of the thing was number 12, who's now wearing number 2. Now, he didn't play this past weekend, but I'm sure he'll be ready for this game. But man, he's like the great eraser back there. And it looks like you're going to make a play, and, you know, you're ready to draw that line for a touchdown, and here he comes and whacks you. And but that's the way Wisconsin plays, and that's why they're good, and that's why they're what? Someone told me they're 40-3 or something in the last X number of home games, because they got good intention to smack you.
Speaking of, you bring up with your team what happened to Alabama this past weekend. I mean, does that even come up? I mean, number one, you going in with a target
No.
in your back, like you said, you already got a target in your back
Yeah.
anyway. But
I mean,
is there a lesson from that game though?
I would suppose if our guys watched the game, you know, they'd see that, you know, if you don't do what you have to do to win the game, and the other people do, I don't care who you are, where you're ranked, what your name is, you're not going to win the game. And but no, we don't have a board sitting in our room with all the teams' names on them and see what happened to them and move them down. Now our guys watch lots of football. When I came in on Sunday, they were all chortling about that crazy lateral over the head, you know.
LSU.
Do we have that play? Not where it bounces. When you catch it on the fly, we do it that way.
Does Terrell ever express frustration that he's never graded a winning performance? He had a really good game against Indiana. Does he even playfully ever express frustration that, hey, I've never graded a winning performance here? That's pretty good games.
You know, I've never seen it. But maybe with Coach Sis he does. But I've never seen him playfully do it.
What could he have done better against Indiana? Because it seemed like he had a really sharp game. His running was obviously limited. He couldn't run the ball at all, he said, but that was a game plan. He was very sharp throwing the ball. What could he have done even better?
Well, the thing that we've got to get to the point is that we have great discipline in our drops. And one of the hardest things to grade perfect on is when you're in a shotgun some and still get the proper drop. Because in your mind you're thinking, well, I'm already back here, let me read this thing. Well, the problem is then the timing with the receiver's off. Because you're looking for him to break and he's not ready to break because your feet are already set, his aren't. And so discipline in sets is huge. Making sure the ball is thrown right on rhythm. You know, we talk about it, you know, throw on rhythm, and, you know, bang. We had some of those 24 completions that I'm not so sure shouldn't have been just a touch sooner. And then but now the grading scale is difficult, and everything we do it in mind of how are we going to beat everybody, and not just, you know, how are we going to complete that pass, the guy slipped or something and we threw it late but it was still fine. Well, how are we going to, if they're playing their best and we're playing our best, how are we going to do it? And that's the way it's graded. And so just little things. I mean, there wasn't anything. You know, he didn't have any interceptions, and so there was nothing that, you know, really whacked his grade. But he didn't get as many plays. It's harder to grade a winning performance when you have less plays. If you're in one of those games where 75 plays and you hand it off 45 times, unless, you know, you're just lazy, you're going to get pluses on those. And then what's going to happen on the other 30? Well, he only had, 30-some plays, so it's a little bit harder. But Natalie, you ready to go here? Because Cam here is giving me the hook. And
I saw it. I know.
No.
He's hearing you. Real quick, you mentioned evolution of the team, and I can't help but wonder, as the team gets ready for their 7th game, how has this team evolved from what you thought it would be at the beginning?
You know, this team is really interested in being good and very willing to be coached. And then they love to go prepare. And they love to prepare on their own as well, not just in the practice when you're monitoring them and so forth. They love to go prepare on their own. And I think they react pretty well to constructive critiques, criticism, however you want to put it, and then go get to work on it. I think they've come out prepared and ready to go in every ball game we've played. And now, in my mind, here's the difference. Now we got to go and be ready to play Wisconsin. That's a different level of readiness up there. But I think these guys are interested in being good, and I think they want to go and be ready. Is Lori here? She bailed. Okay.
Is Mike Adams the only player sick at this point? And is this the kind of thing that you're worried could spread through the team, or are you confident being this early to burn itself out by Saturday?
Well, there were two guys. Mike Adams. Who's the other one? Wait a minute. There were two guys that came in for sick call. Now, who was that? Am I worried that it's an epidemic? Not this moment. We had one last week. JB was out at Tuesday's practice. You know, as we mentioned, there's so many thousand kids around here. And, you know, we hope, I haven't heard of any of those things like last year. Remember, last year was terrible across the country, not just for us. Andrew Miller was out for a month. We had a lot of guys down. Hopefully, you know, that won't be the case. And JB didn't seem to be any less for the ball game after missing Tuesday. And you know, hopefully Michael will get some rest and be ready to go. And, oh man, I feel bad. I can't remember who the other one is.
Tom was sick.
Who was?
Tom McPhee.
Yeah, that was last week, right? Yeah, Tom was sick last week. There was someone else this morning who came in. Can't remember. But anyway, from Peachtree Ridge High School.
I still have a question for you.
Oh, you got a question? All right, go ahead.
How's practice going to be?
All right. Hard and long.
Step up there, Cam. You got your own press conference, man. Mike Adams bailed out on you.